Welcome back to another episode. Today we are discussing Dancing with the Stars Halloween night. There is a lot to unpack, so let's get into that. So, approaching the Halloween night episode every single season, it's one of my most favorites. There is just the most intense special effect makeup. The dances are incredible. The themes, like, it's not a night to take lightly whatsoever. And even my favorite gal, Daniela, she always delivers the most incredible dances. And people usually measure up as well. She's not the only one when it comes to the choreography for all the pros. So definitely something that I very much look forward to. And this night absolutely delivered. And especially because of all the controversy regarding the past couple of weeks with people, including myself, thinking that things seem to be a little rigged in the department of judging and kind of the general leaderboard and results of it all. I was very intrigued to see how this night would go, if things would appear to have some sort of damage control or if things would continue to be rigged. Well, stay tuned because we're about to find out. Right off the bat, I was very sad because, of course, there was no opening number. And typically, I've noticed with all the Halloween episodes, they usually don't. They kind of do kind of more of a spoofy approach to it, whether it's having the pros surprise their celebrity partners or like spook them or hide them or have them go through like a haunted forest together. There's always been those sort of things. So an opening number isn't really something that's usually been done. I feel like they have done it, but as I think back, a lot of the times it's kind of just more spoofy with the judges, yeah, which is what we got. So not that crazy. They had been killing the opening numbers, so maybe it was almost giving them a break because they've had these just insane opening numbers back to back. And so yeah, I was sad about it, but I guess they deserved a well-timed break. However, the one funny thing in the little opening was that they were kind of alluding to there was a mystery in the ballroom, and so the judges were like, "Oh, it has to be solved," or I think it was Alfonso and Julianne. But my favorite part was the nod to Dylan having been part of Traitors because he was the one that was going to be put on the case to solve the big mystery of whatever very small murder in the dance floor. I don't know. Anyway, but Dylan puts on his hood that they notoriously wear in Traitors, and it was just incredible. It was the best little nod that they could have done. And love that because Dylan is one of the favorites for myself. But ironically, I still haven't seen his season. I meant to when everyone was freaking out about how good Traitors was and specifically his season. I was like, okay, I have to start from the beginning. I have to watch the first two seasons. And so me and my husband did that. And we got burnt out by like watching through the second, like half of the second season, I guess. And so we never even made it to the third season. So now my goal is, unfortunately, Halloween is over. As I'm recording this, it's November 1st. So I I don't know, maybe I can still watch it, but Halloween's over, so unfortunately I have to get to the holiday festive side of things now. And then of course, one of the first announcements that is made is that Elaine is not in the ballroom, that she had actually gotten hurt that very morning during their last final rehearsals, and that she was rushed to the hospital. And from what we gather throughout the episode is that she had a rib injury, or it's like a muscle right under the rib, I'm not sure, but overall that she would not be dancing that night and that the judging would go based off of the rehearsal footage that they had. And that was interesting in itself. We'll get to that in a second, but her presence was definitely missed in the ballroom. So the one different thing for Halloween nights Dancing with the Stars is that they have the Monster-thon, which basically means all the couples are on the dance floor together and they have to do two different types of dances, but they're all dancing kind of like a Grease battle from the musical Grease. And then the other exciting thing of the night is that Cheryl Burke is the guest judge, which she of course is a two-time Mirrorball champ. So naturally, just as Kim was as fantastic of a judge that she was, I was hoping that we would see the same from Cheryl. Unfortunately, things did not seem to play out that way, with not a subtle jab at the foreshadowing with that. When Alfonso asked Cheryl what she wanted to see from the night, she said she wanted to see authenticity and technique. Like every single week, of course, though, Alfonso said it is the 6th consecutive week where the voting record was crushed from the previous week, so I'm sure we'll continue with that trend as Dancing with the Stars is now bigger and better than ever before. And so let's get into it. So first up was Whitney and Mark, who performed a jazz routine to Brain Stew by Green Day, which they had received 3 10s and a 9 last week, and that was a lot of pressure. That's what she was talking about within her media package, she made a lot of points stating that she's still a mom. It's become very emotional, and she has so much anxiety that every time she steps on the dance floor, she feels like she's going to throw up. Oh my goodness. So sad for Jill. If you know what I'm talking about. Well, Dance Mom's quote. Anyway, I think, yeah, I get that's a lot. I do. But just like Jen and crying about being postpartum, you signed up for it. You're there to be judged. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just running out of things to say in their media package, and so they're just kind of going with stating the obvious, and that's fine. Like I get it. I wish it wasn't that way. I feel like there would be so much. I don't know. I feel like if there was a genuine like entry point to her personality or perspective or how their relationship has blossomed her and Mark, that would be a little bit more interesting. But here we are. Small little violin for her. I guess the part that rubs me the wrong way is she'd made the comment that she's been always saying yes to all the jobs, and that she doesn't know how long I don't remember what the phrase she uses, like limelight or how long the spotlight will be on her. And it's like, okay, tell me you're obsessed with yourself without telling me you're obsessed with yourself. Just a little bit. Like, and that's okay. Like, okay, but here's the thing. I'm all for somebody being confident. I just don't like the cocky behavior, and that's what I just see from her all the time. And it's just not that impressive to me. But for all y'all that are Team Whitney, happy for you, if that's what you like to see. So they start their dance, and of course, within seconds, Whitney is rushing the music again, not matching Mark whatsoever. And I just kind of laugh because I'm just like, okay, well, the fall from grace and the pressure apparently is getting to her because she didn't learn her lesson, and here she's doing it again. The one thing I will say is that the music was a lot trickier. There's a lot of like harsh beats that you can jump the gun and like try to hit those beats strongly, but the problem is that they're so distinct that you're going to be off of them by a millisecond, but within that millisecond it's going to be very obvious. So I don't know if it's the song's fault, I don't know if it's Whitney's fault, I don't know, but I do think a big part of it obviously is Whitney. But yeah, I don't know if they would have done better with a different song. I'm hesitant to say yes, but I'm obviously not the master of the music here. So, and the other really funny thing is that all over TikTok, I've seen a lot of Whitney fans that say, I can't believe that she didn't get all 10s. That dance deserved all 10s. People are saying that she's off in the music. What are you talking about? I'm like, you're telling me you didn't see that. And I guess as I rewatched it, like I said, I always rewatch these entire episodes multiple times before I podcast. And the funny thing is rewatching it, looking for that with that in mind of these individuals that were like, she wasn't off timing. What are you talking about? Yeah, it takes a more trained eye, but it's not that hard. So I understand being a fan and passionate for the person you're rooting for, but it's pretty obvious. And even two of the judges said that. And that was something that even Cheryl, she was the first one that was up to make comments. Yeah, so Cheryl called out the timing immediately with that comment right off the bat, and as well as that Carrie Ann followed up and said that too. So I was glad it wasn't just one judge, because if it was, then all the Whitney fans would just be after that judge too. And that made me kind of laugh because I was like, okay, it wasn't one, but it was two. So thank goodness their scores reflected it a little bit. In my opinion, they should have scored lower, but they got 3 9s and a 10. Bruno was apparently seeing the dance as perfect when it wasn't, but that's Bruno for you. And I don't know. I'm always here for the fact that I think that the judges do have a little whispering in their ears for how they should vote. However, the fact that Bruno gave a 10, I'm pretty sure they're like, okay, yeah, Whitney can have a 10 because that's just the narrative they like to push forward with for Whitney. And the funny thing is, though, is I feel like if they would have gotten more than 110, then the audience probably would have come for the heads of the producers of Dancing with the Stars, because the edit was just so obvious. And so, like, awarding 10s, like, why did Bruno award a 10? It makes 0 sense. But anyway, as for the overall dance, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because none of Whitney's dances are my favorite really at all. So it was very intense. It was a good Halloween dance. It wasn't my favorite, and it always makes me laugh too because it's a jazz routine. Like, I grew up going to actual technique jazz classes, and obviously I didn't do ballroom, so I can't make that, I guess, criticism. But it's just like when I think of jazz, I don't think of that. But I mean, it has jazz elements for sure, but it was interesting. So, but I will say that the comments I do remember hearing was that it had like the Fosse, Alvin, Ailey stuff, in it, which I think is cool. I did tap too growing up, so I did it all. Not really, not ballroom, but so I do respect the routine, but overall it was my favorite. But that just could be because I think Whitney scares me. So I guess it made it a really great Halloween episode. Okay, up next, Jordan and Ezra. So after their last week of being absolutely fantastic, they had to measure up significantly. And it hurts me to say they didn't do too well. I appreciate and give them mad props for the outside of the box, just exploring and something new, something interesting, to which they had Jordan wearing a harness that they initially had a rope, I guess, through that Ezra would control and kind of like flip her around and stuff. Because the dance that they danced to was Elastic Heart by Sia. And I thought it was very, as in Jordan's words, she had said taking a risk, which I agree, it was quite the risk. I think the problem is that there was just a lot of anxiety felt, not necessarily in a good way. I mean, that would have made a good point for a Halloween dance, but not in the way that it came off portraying anxiety. It just showed anxiety, where I feel like the audience was like, okay, like, is something going to go wrong with the prop? Like, and this reminds me of just watching Dance Moms, like something that Abby Lee Miller always said. It's just like, one, obviously, if you have a prop, you can't, one, drop the prop, you can't let the prop out dance you, like, and so I feel like just watching it, it's one, the prop wasn't being utilized well enough, as well as then something that the judges had said is that you have to use it so well that you can forget that the prop's there. And the entire time, I think everyone was just thinking about the prop. And so it was a good idea. It wasn't executed well. And I'm pretty sure that's something that even Derek had said word for word. And even Jordan at the beginning, she wanted to help produce a Halloween dance that was just as iconic as, and she had quoted the past Halloween dances, which they were all Daniela's. So she didn't say it word for word, but definitely as iconic as Daniela's dances in the past. And overall, the concept of the dance I thought was really good. I think they're a very strong couple, and they are just fantastic in their movements, and they have a lot of picture perfect moments. However, it just made the movements choreographed and one after another, the way that the transitions were, I guess they just looked rough. And I think just with the harness being involved, it just added a lot of commotion as well. And just like people just watching the prop I mean, yeah, it was on Jordan's body, but just kind of seeing how things would go forward. Because like, even I remember they do a bunch of dive rolls, and the number one thing I was thinking while watching these dive rolls was like, oh gosh, is she gonna get like stabbed by the parts of the prop that were jutting out, like when she lands these rolls? Like, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't able to watch the dance and enjoy it. So that's just an aspect of where the prop can harm you more than it helps you. But like I said, I do respect them taking a risk. I think that is something that not a lot of the other dances had, where it's something very unexpected, just something that wasn't comparable at all. But I really did enjoy the very ending pose that they did. It was Jordan doing like a handstand assisted bicycle leg handstand thing, which I thought was really cool. So I'll give 10 out of 10 for that. But yeah, as a recap, Carrie Ann said that it was a struggle at times with the prop. Derek agreed that the harness wasn't executed well. And the funny thing though is I remember seeing that Ezra, he was just kind of reacting, being like, well, it was in a live, actually. It was in a TikTok live. I think somebody recorded it and posted it, that Ezra was like, well, sorry, like we took a chance at this and whoops, it didn't work, and that's too bad, like we'll move on, like we learned our lesson, kind of thing. And I think that's so mature too. Like, you can be torn down for something like that, or you can just move on. And I love that he was just like, well, it didn't work, we'll move on. And they're still in the competition, and I would not write them out yet, because they have been doing fantastic. And even though it didn't work one week, they can come back, because look at the week previous. Like, it will be what's the theme? It's next week. It is Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night. So we'll see. And I feel like she's got a lot of power that she'll be able to do very well in that category. So I wouldn't count them out yet. Okay. And then up next, while they were running up to get their scores, we had the first cross troop dance. I thought it was good. I wish I had more of a theme. It was just kind of like black and silver, spidery web look bodysuits. There wasn't really any crazy theme. Obviously, it's a very short cross dance. So when it does the factor of just like being a Halloween ambiance, very good. But they've just impressed me a lot in the past, where it's like I'm holding them up to a super high standard, because I'm just like, impress me, entertain me. However, it was good. It was good for what it was, but nothing like crazy. But yeah, they were just obviously a little cross though. All right, up next, Andy and Emma. They will just continuously to be some sort of miracle workers getting through week after week. So this dance specifically wasn't my favorite. I'm pretty sure Carrie Ann said it was one of his best still, and that he's getting better and stuff. I don't believe that. I think this dance specifically, pun on pun, was a lot of smoke and mirrors without the mirrors part because there was a lot of smoke. There was a lot of fog being applied. I don't know if that was specifically Emma's choice that she's able to do that, or it was just something that they were able to work out with the special effects team or what producers. I don't know. However, obviously it was a ruse and it makes sense for why all this fog was covering Andy's feet. So you couldn't see him stumbling along. You couldn't see the lack of intricacy with the steps. It was a very good ruse, and I think you're silly and stupid if you didn't think otherwise for that, or if you're like, oh, it's just really cool. Yeah, obviously it was cool, but there was a lot of it that went into just absolutely hiding Andy's feet. But with that being said, he played a priest. She was some demon that he was performing this exorcism or something on, and I thought it was good. It was a paso doble, and it was good for what it was. I think it's cute that Andy tries so hard at the competition. This one was a little hard because, like, in the previous week when he was doing the Emerald City dance, he had a little bit more happiness and emotion, of course. This is the stark opposite of him being a very intense, concerned priest and concentrating face. And the problem is he can't switch that face, like, and change it a lot, so he just kind of looked a little stressed. But I guess it worked. The judges didn't really say too much about it because it worked, and he played this priest that was casting out this demon, and it worked. But yeah, obviously Emma's still dancing circles around Andy. That's nothing new. However, spoiler alert, they get through. They get through. And so we get to see them do a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night. I think at that point it will have to be their last night, unless, once again, I wish we could see the numbers totaling votes. I don't know how crazy as Andy revealed, the what was it called? The pet name for their, let's see, the Fandies. I don't know how prevalent the Fandies, that's the pet name for Andy fans, the Fandies are in the voting process. So if for some reason they can push him through for another night of hair metal, or not hair metal, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whatever, then that's insane. I don't even know who would go home next at that point. I really don't. I don't know. We'll circle back to that though. Okay, so then up next we have the Jan and Jenna little dance cross of them dancing the Taylor Swift's Cancelled. Oh my gosh, if there was any Jan hate to this point, he redacts it and proves otherwise dancing with Jenna. And I'll get to a deeper, in-depth kind of analyst of this, but he does absolutely incredible with Jenna. And I'm pretty sure they're in a music video together somewhere. But so good. The routine's so immaculate. And the best part is that he is so good at playing a character and emoting and with just every fiber of his being himself. But when he has someone that actually plays back, aka not Jen, but Jenna, back in that manner, it's just magical, and it brings even more out of him. And so that's, I would say, a lot of the Jan slander that we've seen of late gets a little redacted when seeing Dance with Jenna, I would say, unless people still really hate him, which I don't see why they'd be that way, but for each their own. Anyway, so impressive. Absolutely loved the routine. So sharp, so dynamic, great storytelling. Wish it was longer, to be honest. Okay, up next was the Elaine and Andy slot. So, of course, Elaine was not in the ballroom because she was in the hospital at the time. But the craziest part of their media package is that I think she had like a titanium steel in her foot. And so, because she was dancing barefoot through the Wicked night and all throughout the week, her foot literally was like ripped open. And like, if that's not concerning enough, then she has this actual, like, can't breathe injury going on. That poor gal, like, if anything, if for some reason Andy kicks someone out, I don't want her to leave because I want her to be able to follow her dreams, and she's absolutely loving it, and this is her thing. But like, I feel bad. She needs to recover. Oh my gosh, they showed the picture. It was gruesome. It was like, it was gruesome. And so that's great. Love that for her, being able to push through that. But inevitably she did hurt her rib. But yeah, despite the actual injury part, it's unfortunate that the audience had to just go off of judging, including the judges, of course, the rehearsal footage, because she was able to go relatively full out in rehearsal clothes I think it was like that morning or something, and which she did incredible in that rehearsal video. Like, I don't think any other, maybe Robert and Alex, but anybody else would take the rehearsal video that seriously with just practicing with the wide shot. and she did fantastic. And even something that Alan said in, I think it was the Dancing with the Stars podcast interview, Alan said every single time she performs, she goes full out. And I respect that so much as a past dancer, because a lot of us don't do that. Like, one, it's very tiring to do that. Two, you get lazy a little bit. And so the fact that she does that is just so remarkable, and just so invested to just the whole competition and just doing it every single time. Like, that's so impressive to me. And I feel really bad that she got hurt. And I hope she recovers very quickly and is back in the ballroom and in business, and will stay around for much longer, because one, she's fighting for it, and two, she deserves to. So, okay. So up next, Danielle and Pasha. So this dance for me was super strange, because I watched it the first time, and I think what happened when I watched it the first time, I didn't really notice or watch the media package as closely, because I was like, oh yeah, just rehearsal video, blah, blah, blah. And so like I start watching it, and I'm like, okay, are they like a dead couple, or are they a ghost couple? Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden, then they're like getting super bloody, and I'm like, wait, were they not dead? So I'm not sure what was going on there. Okay, fast forward. Once again, I watched these episodes multiple times over and over again. And so the second time, I noticed and watched the media package a lot more in depth. And she had stated in the media package that she wanted to play or create like a murder mystery. And that, so the concept was that she was dead and that he kills her or something like that. Very confusing. But so I think that she wasn't dead. I don't know. But overall, as the actual dancing goes, it was really good. I thought it told a wonderful story. A lot of good technique was there. I thought that it was very smooth. The transitions were good. The only thing that week after week, and even the judges had made the comment, was that she is stiff in her torso, and because she is short, like being able to extend her limbs and kind of story tell with them through all the way through her arms and fingers makes all the difference. And I think that's where she needs to make the improvement. It's a very hard adjustment, but I think that will put her over the edge if she's able to do that. But overall, the storytelling was really good. And after understanding the concept behind the dance, watching it the second time, I really did enjoy it, especially even though the surprise of the blood, like, I knew it was coming, it made it more enjoyable to like identify the movements and how they were choreographed to create the blood. So I liked it. I thought it was a good one. And something else that I wanted to point out is, yes, that the blood and the I guess ripping off, there's one part where Danielle rips off a bit of her clothes and it reveals there's blood underneath. So the difference between that and Jordan and Ezra, where your focus, you're just waiting for something bad to go wrong with the prop, versus just the smooth transitions of how those little moments where the clothes being ripped off and the blood applied, or however it goes, they're so well hidden, and you're not having anxiety about it, that you can just kind of watch them happen and unfold, and you're like, oh wow, that's so cool, but you don't linger on it. And so that's kind of where the whole Jordan and Ezra thing, the entire time you're lingering on it, and you're like, oh, okay, she has the harness, or like, what's gonna happen on the harness, like, does she get out of the harness, like. And so I think that's just the fine line of being able to just have the prop or gimmick or whatever going on, but being able to just choreograph it so smoothly and seamlessly, which is what I thought that Pasha did a really good job applying that, unless of course it was Danielle's idea mostly, which it might have been, but overall it was executed very well. Okay, up next, another favorite, Robert and Whitney. So in the past, I have started to like Whitney's choreography and dances more and more. I used to have them pretty opposite of Daniela's in regards to choreography and just kind of the way that they made me feel, but I'm liking Whitney's choreography more and more. I think it is just so impressive and tells just a great story, has lots of ups and downs, like plays to both strengths of her and her celebrity partners, and I've really respected it. And for this one specifically, no one's talking about this, but the entrance that she makes, just like laying on a cello and then being like pushed upwards, like it's so cool. Like, the fact she even thought of that is just incredible to me. Obviously, a lot of people don't have cellos laying around, so I'm not sure that one's gonna make a viral trend like some of her past ones have, but overall, very theatrical. I loved it, and it really added to the ambiance of the story that they were telling of Robert being this like conductor of the dead and whatnot, and it was really beautiful. I thought it was just so impressive. throughout the entire dance. It was just very well structured, and the transitions were really good. And the biggest thing that a lot of people had made comments in the past regarding Robert's ability to lead was that he wasn't a great leading man, and just kind of controlling the dance. Well, this one he definitely did. That was his whole thing. And even the judges made the comments saying that he did just that. And so that was very impressive to me. The only thing was at the very end was the troupe comes in and like puts blood all over him, but the problem is that they had kind of like drug him into the dark and while they were doing that, and so no one really saw that that's what they were doing. But then Robert pops out and he's like covered in blood, so much that no one wants to touch him, hug him, or even be near him, which was something that was really funny to watch all over social media, people making the comments, because he got very good scores. He got I think it was a 10, 2 9s out of 10. And it was funny though, because like just based on his excitement, you could tell he wanted to hug somebody, but no one wanted to hug him because he's just covered in blood. So I thought it was really funny. To an extent, I thought the blood was unnecessary. It would have been more necessary if they had choreographed it earlier in the dance, or even just like a little bit more into the light of the dance, where they could see that maybe, okay, he's the orchestra leader of the dead or whatever, but then they're coming back to, I don't know, have their karma or whatever upon him. But it was just very rushed at the end and kind of in the shadows where no one saw it. So if they were to do it again and improve, that's the only thing I'd say with that. And then the very sweet thing is that Robert is the only one in the entire night in the skybox that even mentions Elaine and saying that he hopes that she feels better. He gives her a little shout out. And I thought that was just so sweet. And that is just like the true character and just like heart of gold that Robert has, where that just puts him so just different from everyone else. And he has the most TikTok followers of I don't know if it's of the pros too, but of all the celebrities, like beating Alex and stuff. And like, that's the whole point, where it's like, he doesn't want the world to revolve about him. He doesn't want the world to revolve around him. He is just so genuinely himself and just a kind-natured soul. And I love that. It's just the sweetest thing. Up next, Jen and Jan. Spoiler alert, they go home. Yay, finally. It took way too long, and I am just so done with the sob stories of last week. Do you think I'm a bad dancer? Oh my gosh, that will live rent-free in my head forever, because I think it's just so pathetic. It's like, girl, you are there to dance. You're gonna say that in your media package? Okay. Like, anyway, so they come out, and somehow, obviously they danced to Taylor Swift, Look What You Made Me Do, which of course everyone was very excited for, and the fact that Jan is part of the Taylor Swift dance crew. And if I do recall, they were dancing to the newer Look What You Made Me Do. Obviously Reputation, the Taylor's version or whatever, hasn't come out, but I think that song specifically was because they used it for like Handmaid's Tale or something like that. But anyways, they danced to that. It was actually Taylor Swift, which they don't usually get those song rights for unless they have the permission from the artist, which I don't think that they danced to the canceled one for Jenna and Jan. I think that was one of the covers gals that the Dancing with the Stars people have. But that for Jenna and Jan, they did dance to the actual thing. So thought that was kind of cool. No one really commented on it, and I mean, I am, but anyway, that was cool. As for her actual dancing, Jens, it was the best it ever was in the first like 10 seconds when she was dancing right next to the troupe, which I don't know if the troupe was like kind of disguising her with the strength of their movements, or if she felt empowered because she was surrounded by them and they're all so talented. I don't know what it was, but even Carrie Ann mentioned it. She had said that, yeah, Carrie Ann said the beginning was good, LOL, but then basically was insinuating that it kind of went downhill after that, which I would agree. She just goes from point to point with movement to movement. Her transitions don't exist. She just makes it feel awkward, does not make it feel easy. And I will say though, even though the beginning was good, the concept of the dance, it was probably the best dance that she could have left the stage, her legacy for, on about. Because I mean, like the whole concept of like, she says at the very end, she's like, the old Jen can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead or whatever. She says that in the interview at the end. And it's just like, okay, but what's changed exactly? What growth have you had? What maturity? Because I haven't seen any of it. It's the same old games. It's the same old victim mentality. And then the other thing that I will give a little grace for is a lot of people think that she is being emotionally manipulated by her husband. I've seen that a lot on social media recently. We've seen it on the show. They are very toxic for each other. I think that she's toxic too. I think she probably disguises it and plays a little different kind of game with it. But when she was eliminated, the camera panned to her husband, and like he had his hands in his lap, or his face in his lap in his hands, and just like very much distraught, which I'm very intrigued, like, because if I was the husband in that manner, I'd be sad for her, but I'd be so happy to get back to our normal lives too. So the fact that he was that upset, like, I understand if it's just because being a supportive husband, but there's also people with theories that like he's really kind of forcing her to do this, and maybe it's for the money and the fame. I don't know, but kind of crazy. But overall, for her score, she had gotten all eights, and that's the thing that kind of made me like, oh gosh, yeah, she ain't happy because she was not smiling. She did not like even nod or anything when she got all those eights. She just kind of like absorbed it. And poor Jan, he was trying to like carry their couple like as a couple because every single time he's like, okay, yep, that's good, that's good. At the end, he's like, okay, call and vote, and she's just like stone faced pretty much. It's like, just try a little hard. I know you're pissed, but I'm sorry. It's the game. It's the name of the game. So, I mean, thank goodness for Jan being such a wonderful guy carrying that kind of dead weight around. There's a lot of just media talk of whether he will be back as a pro or not. And even Derek had addressed that with when they were giving judges comments saying that, hey, I think you've been doing a spectacular job for your first season. And that was very much addressing all the gossip and all over TikTok of people saying that he shouldn't be a pro and that he's not right for it. And the whole Max Swiderkowski, I can't say the last name. Anyway, Val's brother, obviously they had already stated, Val had made the comments of like, yeah, he's my brother, we don't share the same brain. And that's all that needs to be said, quite honestly. But just the concept of Max saying that Jan shouldn't have been a pro, he doesn't have the experience, whatever. And regardless, like, y'all start somewhere, and it's fine, honestly. If you want to have him as a pro, have him as a pro, you know? But I think the large part of the issue is that Jen wasn't going to play ball very aggressively. I don't know, she's just playing victim too much more than anything, so we'll see how things pan out in the future. The other controversy is a lot of people think that Riley is not doing so hot as well as a pro, but the problem is that all the comment sections everywhere are saying that like, no, I started watching Dancing with Stars again because of Riley, because of her social media presence, which I love that. I think she's fantastic at that. I think that she'd still have a lot to do in that regard if she was part of Troop or demoted to Troop. Obviously, that would be very offensive. I'm sure she'd be very pissed about that. However, it's been done before, I'm pretty sure, with her sister and Whitney. Oh, was it Whitney? I don't remember. But I don't think it'd be the worst move in the world. I think it's been very overwhelming. She is younger than most. And so I will be very intrigued to see how it plays out. It's been a large topic, though, so I think it's very real in the discussions of how things will proceed forward. But no matter what happens, I want to see how Riley and Jan get treated. Like, specifically the two of them. Like, if they get rid of both of them, if they let both stay, if they let Jan stay, if they don't let Riley stay. Like, I'm very intrigued for what happens to one and the other. So, we'll see. My favorite of the night, which is saying something, but we'll get to it. Alex and Val. Honestly, I wrote 100% no notes. They did fantastic. The energy was there, the storytelling was there, the sharpness of the movements, the musicality on beat, everything that I could ever ask for in a dance. And even the shock parts, like there wasn't anything crazy shocking, but I mean, they were buried alive for one, and then they go back to be buried alive, I guess, even though they're dead. Anyway, I loved it. The cinematography of it all was impeccable. And yeah, the only thing though, of course, was the judges' comments. So Cheryl Burke, this is where everything blew up. Cheryl Burke said, I hate that you broke hold. And then she's like, according to the international standard that you don't break hold for I believe it's the tango? I don't know. I'm not 100% on all the dance types, but anyway, she's like, as far as I know, you don't break hold, blah, blah, blah. And that's where I have an issue with Dancing with the Stars, is that they don't ever make it like, I don't know, they used to always have Carrie Ann and her, oh, I see a lift, I see a lift, and she'd always call that out. But even back when that was her thing, it was never really stated of like that they can or can't do something. That was more of Carrie Ann's rule or whatever, right? Obviously, some of the other judges and Len Goodwin would chime in and agree and be like, yeah, that was a lift or whatever. But nowadays, it's specifically I swear they have so much more free reign and access to just choreograph things if they're in the correct category, then they're fine. So my issue, and I'm not going to defend Alex and Val, because if that's true and they're breaking hold when they shouldn't have been, that's fine. But they don't make that just absolutely clear. And I think that's been something that the pros have said in interviews before too, where they're like, okay, there's like ballroom strict guidelines, and then there's Dancing with the Stars, where they can be within the category and it's fine, like kind of thing. So that's the only thing, is that I think up front, the difference of how things would play out into the night, the media, the scores, is that if Cheryl Burke was told, hey, it's okay if they break hold, or if it's okay if they're in the right category, but they don't 100% stick to all the rules, like, it would have changed everything by a lot. Because, one, of course, Cheryl Burke then, days later, she got attacked pretty much by Alex's, I think it's stepmom, because she was either live or posted when she was watching Alex's scoring and watched Cheryl Burke give her a 9 when everyone else gave 10s, and said, oh, whatever, go take some more Ozempic, basically attacking Cheryl Burke's body type, because she did obviously look very slim, more so than just natural aging, which is to imply Ozempic was used or whatever, which is fine. I don't really care about that. It was a pretty low blow when you're just upset, and that's, I mean, obviously people get upset and that's normal and don't always think rationally. That's okay. I think there probably should have been a follow-up very quickly, maybe after seeing all the hurt and damage. I don't think there was. I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but I doubt there was any comment made by the stepmom. I know that Alex, in that same comment section after Cheryl Burke had posted a video stating, like, I think that's horrible to attack someone's body type, blah, 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 blah. So, like, it's all got very, very deep. And this is after the show ended, of course. And Alex was very much in that comment section saying, hey, I appreciated your words. Like, they're great advice, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was very mature of her. She's definitely doing some PR control damage, but is what it was. But anyway, I think that's something that I hope to be fixed in the future, because Dancing with the Stars is not mandating the rules very well, where it's like, okay, this applies to some but not all, and that's affecting scores. And so, like, naturally that's going to cause a lot of commotion and can cause some pretty significant issues. And so I would love to see that, have it be a change in the future, but I doubt it will. I don't know. You never know. But overall, it's an issue. Right in between this was the cross with the eliminated pros dance, which they danced to the Dead Dance by Lady Gaga, which I absolutely love. I watched Wednesday season 2 and thought it was so great when Enid and Agnes did that dance. And so watching the pros dance to it and do their own spin on it was really fun. Like, they didn't do it like word for word or like scene for scene or anything, but it just reminded me of it, and I loved watching it, and it was really good. But that was by Britt, Riley, Gleb, and Brandon, I believe. Anyway, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Up next, one of my other favorites, Dylan and Daniela. Okay, I remember seeing on TikTok before the show aired that Daniela had broken Dylan's nose in rehearsal. Like, she had elbowed him and broke his nose, and they ended up in the hospital, which RIP, so embarrassing, but perfect for Halloween week, right? So when they did their media package, they were going on about how because Dylan was kind of the inspiration for the concept of this dance, because he absolutely loves romantasy, which is romantic fantasy as a genre for books. And if anyone has eyeballs or ears in the general book world, huh? Oh, I think you're referring to smut. Sexual, I don't remember what it stands for. But anyway, yeah, the whole ACOTAR, like, that's what that would be, romantasy, I guess, but taking out the sexual element of it, which is super funny, because of course I think that's just Dancing with the Stars trying to, like, keep things more PG by calling it romantasy, which I know that's probably different. I don't think it is, though. I think it's a cover-up. But anyway, so I thought that was hilarious, and I think this makes him an even more manly man of being able to state that. I absolutely love that for Dylan, so 10 out of 10. As for their actual dancing and storytelling, super good. I thought that's one of the best characteristics that Dylan has and he brings to the ballroom, is that he can really lean into the emotions and just kind of draw you in with and him into his partner as well, Daniela, and that it just sucks you into the storytelling. It's just very intense, and he's not ashamed of it. And that's something that I feel like a lot of the guys that go on Dancing with the Stars as celebrities, they kind of struggle in, because I don't think it's that they're embarrassed, they're just not totally, like, comfortable and fluid with that emotion, and Dylan does so well with it. So, and besides that, on top of the emotions, he is improving week to week with technique, and that's something Cheryl Burke said. She said that is the most improved couple, which I would agree. So that just makes them a complete wild card when it comes to getting to the end of the show, final four, like where they will end up, because they could win it all or they could be one of the first out. Like they're just such a wild card, but they do fantastic every week. And so it's not that they're flying under the radar, it's just that they're not as like messily in their other people's faces or the judges' faces or in the scoring process like Whitney and Alex are. So, I mean, Robert in his own way, I guess, but not as much. It's the girls fighting, it's the cat fighting. But the other comments that were made was that Bruno said, and it was hot, which that was funny. And then so gotta love that the thirsty comments from the boys, because then Derek said smooth as velvet, which 10 out of 10 I would agree. But yeah, overall, what the heck is romantasy? That's smut. Okay, up next, because that was the final individual dance, is the Monsterthon. And oh my gosh, I'll put it lightly, Whitney and Mark should not have won that. I have watched that Monsterthon, whatever thing, so many times now, all the angles, and yeah, Alex and Val were doing the most. Yes, they got tired towards the end, but that's because they put in all of it throughout the entire thing. Whitney and Mark, they repeated this like back and forth rock step thing like 5 billion times, as well as they weren't doing anything crazy. Like the emotions weren't there, the fun wasn't there. Like, yeah, it's rigged. It's rigged, but whatever. I obviously, because we've seen that in the past, because like the way that they have the judges vote out, I say air quote judges, I think it's the producers and their ear monitors telling them, okay, who goes next, based on who needs the points to stay in the leaderboard or to create the leaderboard to what they want things to look like. But because yeah, Alex didn't need the points, Whitney did in theory, and I think from a producer's standpoint, giving Alex the points was unnecessary and it doesn't cause much of a interesting plot. And so that, plus if they were the obvious choice, then yeah, adding controversy by giving it to Whitney and Mark gives them the perfect views and controversy. So I think it's rigged. It will continuously be rigged. But yeah, overall, that the voting made no sense. And it did come down to a 50-50 split, because that's what Derek was saying in an interview after, is that Derek and Carrie Ann had voted that Alex and Val should win, and that Cheryl Burke and Bruno voted that Whitney should win, and that it came down to the tiebreaker of being the guest judge, which was Cheryl, so therefore Whitney and Mark won. Boo. Not a fan of that. So that's what that was the results. And so it was just kind of pointless, but whatever. But that was it. And as we already know, Jen and Jan were eliminated. And so thankfully we don't have to see any more of those dances from Jen. But the other funny thing is, for the monster Halloween night, whatever, was all the freaking contacts. I saw somebody make the funniest TikTok saying they must have gotten like this crazy deal on these like white contacts, because like 90% of the cast was wearing them, which I thought was funny. It did add a layer of intricacy and uniqueness to the night, but it was just funny because everyone was wearing them. But yeah, we'll see if they keep him around for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't think that they will. We'll see what type of silly thing we'll have next week. I'm sure there'll probably be an opening dance, which will be fun, because I did miss that this week. But what type of controversy will grace the ballroom floor this coming week? And I'll be here to talk about it next time. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with a friend. And we'll see you next time. Bye.